Teachers of Reddit, what is the scariest thing you have ever seen a student do? Pull a switchblade out and threaten another student. When I was in second grade, another student named Jerry pulled scissors out and threatened to stab our teacher. The class didn't even understand what was happening. Jerry was screaming and we all thought it was a fun joke. After we evacuated to the playground, Jerry was taken away and we never saw him again. I hope Jerry is better now. I was teaching grade 4 and had announced my pregnancy to the class when I was about 4 months. Everyone was so excited. One little guy, however, made it his mission to try and hurt my baby. On several occasions he kicked a soccer ball at my bump, would try and trip me, and one time even said, "Let's meet this baby," while opening and closing scissors. There was some other contributing factors, but I ended up taking leave early due to anxiety over this. So weird. When I returned the next year, he had moved to a different school. "Let's meet this baby," while opening and closing scissors. My clinical diagnosis at this part is OHSHIT. Not evil scary, just scary. My dad was the elementary school principal, and there was a little girl in one of the younger grades who would fall asleep during class and wouldn't wake up no matter what her teacher or my dad or the paramedics my dad called would do. She'd eventually wake up on her own after several hours. She did this randomly, scaring her teacher, my dad, and her parents a lot. Sadly, eventually, she died in her sleep at home. Holy crap, did they ever find out why though? Like, ever find out the health condition she obviously had? They likely did, but my dad's now in his 70s and that's one of my dad's saddest memories about his job, so I don't bring it up these days. Had a kid who was likely psycho/sociopathic. Other staff often labeled him as super cute and had a great smile, but the kid was disturbingly good at getting large groups to follow him, and there was always something off and kind of fake about his happy tone of voice, like it was coming from someone 10 years older. From time to time, kids who I'd known to be a follower of his would do something wrong and completely out of character, but it was always difficult proving he was actually the cause of it. One day on the playground I noticed he kept relocating his group out of earshot of staff. When the staff moved, the group moved somewhere else. I kept close enough to be noticeable to them, and eventually the kid came up to me and said something like, "Don't you think the younger kids need more attention right now?" And I said, "Nope, I think I'm right where I need to be," to which all emotion disappeared from his face. He looked me dead in the eye and coldly said, "No, I think you need to go somewhere else right now." Then gave a large smile and went back to friends. I referred to him as Manson to the other staff from that day forward. A first grader swallowed a dum-dum sucker whole and it got lodged in her throat. The teacher realized what was happening, despite the chaos of all the kids packing up to go home. The teacher performed the Heimlich and after about 10 seconds was able to get the sucker out of her throat. Also, one time a young girl fell over in the classroom and sliced her forehead open in the corner of a bookshelf. Had to get several stitches. I used to pick my younger sister up from her school. She was in year 3 back then. That day I came in a bit early and found the students creating chaos and screaming. There was no teacher there. My sister and other students were crying and running out of the classroom. I decided to look into the matter and what I saw shocked me to the core. There was this little girl with a blade in her hand and pointing it at her other arm, threatening others that she would cut herself. Also, the fact that she was laughing the whole time made it much scary. By the way, it was an actual sharp blade. I escorted the students to leave the class and screamed for the teacher. Crazy day. Where was the teacher? That school was a mess and I found out the teacher had left the class alone and was in a separate teacher's room. Riot. Literally, it was a riot. Remember that year when people were calling in bomb threats to schools all over the country? The high school I taught at was one of them, so at least once a week, we had to evacuate the building and go to the elementary school behind us and we sat in the gym. Well, one of these times, 2 rival gangs in the school started a fight. One student revealed he had a taser and all chaos broke out in that elementary school. We had to get the police officers from not only our own city but 2 neighboring cities to come and get it under control. Our principal got a black eye and the assistant got a concussion. Several police officers were beat up, too. ETA that I taught high school, so these were freshmen seniors fighting. My high school used to have riots too. Little 7-year-old with behavioral problems that I had passed on concerns about several times, threw his slate chalkboard across the room and luckily just the flat of it smacked a little girl in the face. The next class he punched me in the balls and I sat down for 10 minutes, calmly collected my things and walked out. What do they do when a teacher just quits like that? Manager called me and said, fair enough. Replaced me and perhaps that kid was excluded as per my advice.